Now let's see the parts of a flower. When we look at the parts of the flower, major four parts of the flower are the major four parts, that is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynecium. Okay, these are the four major parts of the flower. Now let's understand each concept. Calyx means the part of the flower which is present in green color outside the flower. Corolla is the colorful part of the flower, that is the petals. Androecium is the male reproductive organ of the flower and gynecium is the female reproductive part of the flower. Now, calyx is actually a group of sepals. Okay, and corolla is a group of petals. Androecium can be also called as stamens and gynecium can be called as pistil. Now let's look into the detailed structure of a flower. If I am drawing the flower, if I draw the structure of the flower, children, the flower has got a small stalk. Okay, this stalk of the flower is called as pedicel, and after the pedicel it is having small green colored structures. These small green colored structures are called as sepals. A group of sepals together, you call it as calyx. Okay, so what is the function of the sepals? Sepals' function is to protect the flower in the bud condition, and since it is green in color, certain amount of photosynthesis also can be done by the sepals. Now next, inside the sepals, I have got the colorful petals. Okay, colorful petals are present here. These petals are together called as corolla. Okay, so inside the flower, sepals are there, petals are there. Another essential part of the flower, that is the androecium. Now what is the androecium, children? If I draw the androecium, okay, I will find that these all structures are resting on the base. Okay, and from here certain structures like this are emerging out. This is the male reproductive organ of the flower. Okay, now coming to female reproductive organ. When I come to female reproductive organ, the female reproductive organ will be located in the center. Okay, this whole thing is the female reproductive organ, this is the male reproductive organ. So let us see the parts of male and female reproductive organs. Now, first female reproductive organ I will see. It is divided into ovary, a long slender stem that is called as style, and at the top it has got a cap which we call it as stigma. So, ovary, style and stigma, these will be together forming the female reproductive organ, which you can call it as a pistil or you can call it as gynecium also. Now let's come to the male reproductive organ. Now male reproductive organ, it consists of a stalk, okay, that is called as filament, and a knob-like structure which is called as anther. These two structures together will form your stem. These two structures will be together forming the stem. I will write stamen here because I think you won't be able to see it. Okay, so these structure together, anther plus filament, form the stem. So these are the parts of the flower which you have to learn in class 10. Now if I take out the anther, okay, anther is a knob that is present here. If I take out the anther, I can see that it is a bilobed structure. Bilobed means that it has got two lobes like this and 4 pollen sacs are present inside it. Okay, 4 pollen sacs are present inside which the pollen grains are present. So these pollen grains are the male gamete. Have you understood the difference? That is, this is the anther, this is the filament. If I cut open the anther, I will find that 4 pollen sacs are there. Inside that pollen sacs, pollen grains are present. These pollen grains are the male gametes. Okay, these are actually carrying the male gametes, so we can call them as male gametes. So now coming to this part, that is the female reproductive organ. If you see the female reproductive organ, you find that it has got a stigma, it has got a long tube that is tied, and it has got a swollen basal portion which we call it as ovary. Inside the ovary, you are having certain small structures. These small structures are called as ovules. For example, if you have got tomato, just cut open the tomato. You will see that this is the placenta, this portion what is the placenta, that is your tomato. Okay, you cut it open, you will find a structure like this, that is, there is a structure to which the seeds are being attached to. So that is the ovules. And what is inside the ovules? Ovules are containing the female gamete, that is the egg. Okay, that is why this is called as a male reproductive organ and this is called as a female reproductive organ. Now let's see the sexual reproduction in plants. Before we start with the the sexual reproduction in the plants, some basic terms. What we have to learn is that one, you have learned the bisexual and the unisexual flowers. Now another basic concept which you want to study here is pollination. Pollination means the transfer. Okay, it is the transfer of pollen. Where is the pollen present? The pollen is present in the anther. So it is the transference of the pollen from the anther to the stigma of same flower or another flower. Clear? So pollination means it is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of another flower. Now there are two types of pollination which we have, that is self-pollination and cross-pollination. So what is self-pollination? Self-pollination means that the pollen grains from the anther are transferred to the stigma of the same flower, okay, or to another flower of the same plant. Either it will be to the same flower or it will be to another flower, but the flower will be of the same plant. Now next we have, okay, now this is self-pollination. Now we have got cross-pollination, that is the next type of pollination. In cross-pollination, what do you find? That is the transference of a pollen grains from the anther takes place to the stigma of another flower of another plant. Okay, another flower of another plant, but the plant will be of the same species. That is, pollen grains and stigma will be belonging to the same species of the plant, but the flower is present with some other plant. So that is self-pollination. Oh, sorry, cross-pollination. Now we will come to the next topic, that is sexual reproduction in the plants. How does sexual reproduction takes place? Sexual reproduction, as we know from the definition itself, sexual reproduction means it is a fusion of the male with the female gamete, and as a result what is being produced here? Zygote is being produced. That is the basic concept. Male gamete fuses with the female gamete to produce a zygote. Male gamete is haploid, female gamete is also haploid, but the zygote is diploid. Clear? So now we will start with the sexual reproduction in the flowers. When we start with the sexual reproduction, we had already seen the male and the female part of the flower. So let's first draw the female reproductive part of the flower. This is ovary, this is style, and this is stigma. Now pollen grains which are present in the pollen sacs by the agents of pollination like wind, birds, insects, human beings, etc. The pollen grains from the anther will be landing up on the stigma. Okay, so these will land up on the stigma, and when they are landing up on the stigma is having certain sticky substance attached to it. And because of that sticky substance, the pollen grain will not fall down. Okay, it will remain attached, and chemical substances inside this stigma, that is the stigma part, will initiate the pollen grains to produce the pollen tubes. It will start producing the pollen tube. A little bit broader we can make so that it will be easy for a little bit broader we can make. Now the pollen tube will be developed from here. Okay, and when we come to the structure of the ovary, inside the ovary there is ovule. Now what are the cells inside the ovule? The same structure I am drawing it in a larger manner. That is, ovule you are having, this ovule, that will be having one egg cell at the bottom, two synergids on the sides. Okay, that this is the egg cell. This is surrounded by two synergids, and opposite to this, the three cells present here, these are called as antipodal cells. These are called as antipodal cells. Okay, all this are having one nucleus inside it. Only the cell that is present in the center. Okay, there is a center, one cell is present. It is having two nuclei inside it. So this cell is called as polar cell. And the two nuclei present inside this are called as polar nuclei. Okay, this is the detailed structure what I have drawn. This is the ovule structure. Now just look at this diagram. I told you that pollen grains start developing pollen tube. When they start developing pollen tube, in the pollen tube they will be carrying two gametes along with them. Okay, so they will be carrying two gametes here. So these two gametes will be entering into this. Okay, this two gametes will be entering into the ovule. It will fuse with the egg cell that is present here. This one male, this is having two male gametes, isn't it? Two male gametes are present here. Out of this, one will fuse with the egg cell, and one more gamete is left that will fuse with the polar nuclei. So what is happening here? Out of this two male gametes, one will fuse with the egg, one will fuse with the polar cell. Okay, so the one which fuses with the egg, that is going to produce your zygote. Zygote will be diploid. One which is fusing with the polar cell will produce a structure which is now having 3 nucleus inside it. 2 nucleus of the polar cell plus 1 nuclei of the male gamete. So this particular structure, what we are getting, this you will be calling it as endosperm. Okay, this endosperm is triploid because it is having 3 nucleus, and endosperm is providing nutrition to the growing embryo. Okay, other cells whatever are present you can see inside this, that get degenerated or finished off once the process of fertilization is complete. So usually we call that flowering plants. Flowering plants means plants which are having the flowers. Flowering plants are having double fertilization. Why double fertilization? One male gamete fused with the egg to produce a zygote. Other male gamete has fused with the polar cell to produce the endosperm. So angiospermic plants usually show double fertilization. Now what are the changes that takes place in the plant after the fertilization? After fertilization, particularly, there will be no changes as such in the plant, but the changes which are going to take place are in the flower. In the flower, the changes that takes place is ovary. Ovary will change into your fruit. Okay, will change into your fruit. You have got the next one, that is the ovule. That ovule changes into the seed because this seed is having the growing embryo with it. Okay, now what about the other parts of the plant? The sepals are there, the petals are there. All these plants are getting degenerated or they fall off. Okay. So ovary develops into fruit, ovule develops into the seed because the seed is the one which is having the embryonic part of the plant. Embryonic part means the young part of the plant. So what are the parts of the seed that we will see in the next class. Thank you children.